Have you ever done this? Pretended to look for something in your jacket, in your bag, in the glove box. Not because you lost anything, but because something inside you was about to break and you needed just a few seconds to hide your face, to bite your lip, to hold back what the world has never seen. Not sorrow, not grief, just the silent weight of being strong for too long. But you didn't cry. You took a breath. You composed yourself, and you returned to the script, the one you've been performing for years, the strong one, the one who never crumbles, the one who never needs, the one who makes pain look manageable and silence look noble. And the world applauded. They praised your grace, your reliability, your self-control. But no one asked what it was costing you. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to be loved, to be accepted, to avoid disrupting the room. And at first it was necessary. It protected you. It helped you survive in places where softness would have been punished. But if you wear a mask long enough, you start to forget there's a face underneath. You learned early. Showing emotion made people uncomfortable. Needing support made you feel like a burden. So you became efficient, polished, put together. They clapped for your strength, but no one noticed the tightening in your chest every time you swallowed your truth. And here's the part that hurts to admit. You don't cry anymore, not because you don't feel, but because somewhere along the way, you started to believe, if I break, I'll be too much. If I fall apart, no one will know what to do. If I ask for help, I become the problem. So you built a life where breakdowns weren't allowed. And in that life, no one ever checks if you're okay, because they think you always are. You became the calm one, the wise one, the rock, the person who absorbs chaos without letting it show. You've said things like, I'm fine, it's nothing, I'm just tired. But are you? Or have you just forgotten what it feels like to be held instead of holding everything? Maybe. You miss it. You miss crying without shame. You miss softness without suspicion. You miss falling asleep without feeling like you're failing someone. But here's the hard truth. You've performed strength for so long. Even you can't tell when you're in pain anymore. You smile automatically. You comfort instinctively. You shrink your needs. You keep holding the world together while something sacred inside you whispers, I'm tired. I want to rest. I don't want to be strong today. This is the shadow of strength, the part of you that says I'm good while secretly longing to be seen. I'm okay while hoping anyone will say, no, you're not. And that's okay too. So let me say it. You've carried enough. You've done more than most people will ever understand. You've worn the mask so well that the world forgot you had a face underneath. But I didn't forget. And maybe, neither did you. So what if, just for this moment, you didn't have to be strong? What if this quiet space was the first time in years you let yourself exhale, not to fix, not to comfort, not to perform, just to be, just to breathe? And if some part of you just let out a small breath, a sigh, no one heard but you, let that be the beginning. The first crack in the armor, the softest kind of rebellion, the one that says I'm still here, and I don't want to disappear inside this strength. You don't have to be the anchor tonight. You don't have to hold everyone. You just have to be here, with yourself, as you are, hand on heart. One deep breath, no explanation. If this spoke to something in you, leave a comment that says I've carried enough. I want to feel human again, because healing doesn't begin with endurance. It begins with permission, and tonight you have it. There's a voice inside you, familiar, relentless, almost comforting in how consistent it is. It shows up when you're overwhelmed, when you're exhausted, when you're on the verge of tears. And it says, push through. Don't make it a big deal. Other people have it worse. You're fine. You always are. But that voice isn't wisdom. It's a wound that learned how to sound like strength, so no one would look too closely. It didn't start yesterday. It started the day you cried and were told to stop being dramatic. The day you asked for support and silence answered back. The day you needed care but became the caregiver instead. So you adapted. You grew up fast. You became what the room needed, not what your soul was asking for. And somewhere deep in your wiring, a quiet belief formed: if I need nothing, they'll stay. If I don't complain, I'll be safe. If I'm easy to love, well, I won't be left behind. It's not just a thought. It's a shadow complex, a structure of unprocessed pain that taught you how to survive by disappearing your needs. And here's the harsh truth. You're not strong. You're conditioned to endure. Like a soldier who forgot the war ended years ago, you became a master of pain management. You learned how to keep walking on broken feet with a smile. But the cost is yourself. This is how it shows up. You say yes when your gut says no. You hold space for others while no one holds you. You disappear your feelings so others won't feel awkward. You've become useful, essential, reliable. But behind it all, you're starving. Starving for someone to ask, but how are you really? And mean it. Stay for the answer. Hold space for your silence. Let's be honest. Does anyone see you or just what you provide? Do they notice when you go quiet, or have you made disappearing so gentle they forget you were even there? The real pain isn't that they forgot you. It's that you forgot yourself. You silenced your longings so you wouldn't be too much. You hid your hurt because you thought healing was a luxury you didn't earn. But here's what no one told you. Self-abandonment is not love. It's the ghost of who you were trying to survive inside a life that never made space for you. You're not fragile. You're just weary. Weary of proving your worth by how much you can carry without complaint. Weary of being celebrated for how little you need. Weary of mistaking absence of emotion for emotional mastery. Carl Jung once wrote, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And sometimes the darkest thing to admit is this: I am not strong. I am scared. I am tired. I am lonely. And I want to be seen without having to earn it. So let me ask you something you rarely ask yourself. When was the last time you stopped managing life and let someone care for you? When was the last time you spoke a need without apologizing first? When was the last time you were simply allowed to feel? Not because you deserved it, not because you earned it, but because you're human. And that's reason enough. If you've been nodding in silence through this, if something in your chest feels heavy and tender, I want you to pause, right now, just for a breath, hand on heart, and repeat softly, I don't have to prove anything anymore. I am enough even when I need. I am lovable even when I fall. That's not weakness. That's awakening. The first step toward healing is not pushing harder. It's softening, allowing, coming home to the parts of you that were silenced in the name of survival. If this spoke to something deep in you, subscribe to this channel. Not because you need fixing, but because your healing deserves space and your softness deserves to stay. Let this be the moment you stop hiding behind endurance and begin living in truth. There's a truth most people spend their whole life avoiding. Real healing doesn't begin with hope. It begins with collapse. Not the dramatic kind people gossip about, but the quiet kind, the sacred kind, the kind where your mask doesn't shatter, it softens, slips, slides off your face in the middle of a perfectly ordinary moment, and suddenly you feel the tremble beneath everything. Have you ever had a moment like that? You wake up and feel disconnected from everything, your routines, your roles, your responsibilities. They're still there, but you're not. It's like watching your life from behind a pane of glass. You can see yourself functioning, but none of it feels real anymore. You don't want to be high functioning. You don't want to be strong. You don't want to be productive, wise, responsible. You just want to stop, not die, not escape, just melt, dissolve, disappear from the performance. But you don't, because deep inside a whisper always returns. If I fall, who will carry what I've been holding? That's the cruelest belief of all, that your breakdown would break everything else. So you postpone it for years, decades maybe. You hold yourself together not out of courage, but out of inherited fear. And in doing so, you postpone your own becoming. Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. There is no real self without the disintegration of the false self. And this unbearable quietness inside you might be that disintegration. It's not a failure, it's a necessary death. The death of the mask, the death of performance, the death of that false version of you who only ever knew how to hold it together. You don't need to be stronger, you need permission to fall, to collapse, to unravel. Not for attention, not for sympathy, but to finally see who's still standing with you when you stop holding the world. And more importantly, so you can finally see yourself. Have you ever cried in silence with no reason in the present, but suddenly realized you were crying for every version of you that never got the chance to? The 7-year-old you who stopped asking for comfort, the 14-year-old you who held everyone else together, the adult you who learned to smile with a broken heart. You weren't just crying, you were remembering, releasing, returning. This is your spiritual initiation, the sacred fall, the soul's night journey, what Jung called the night sea journey, a descent into the dark waters of the unconscious, where illusions drown and truth rises. You don't swim through it, you surrender to it, because you don't resurface the same. You don't come back polished, you come back real. Yes, you may lose things. The admiration of people who only loved your strength, the illusion of control, the title of the one who never breaks. But what you gain is the one thing you've always longed for yourself. You'll feel raw, uncertain, stripped of every mask. But that's perfect, because starting from zero is how you stop living a life that isn't yours. It's how you stop being what they needed and start becoming what your soul always was. So if you're in a chapter right now where everything feels like it's falling apart, please hear me. You're not broken. You're becoming real. And this collapse, as terrifying as it feels, is the beginning of your return. If you've been carrying too much for too long, share this video with someone who would understand. Someone who doesn't need you to be strong, just honest, just human. I give myself permission to fall so I can finally live. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is not rise, but release. Let go, fall, and find yourself again beneath the ruins of who you were never meant to be. She asked you, "Can you take care of it?" And you said, "Of course." You smiled. You meant it. And then you went into the kitchen, poured yourself a glass of water, and just stood there. Not moving, not thinking, just frozen. It wasn't exhaustion. It was the quiet realization that no one ever asks if you're okay. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You've just started to notice people lean on you. People trust you. People turn to you in chaos, in conflict, in crisis. But when you fall silent, when you quietly disappear from the group chat, when you ghost the conversation not out of malice, but because you have nothing left to give, no one notices. And that's when it hits you. You've become invisible inside your own strength. You weren't always like this. Once you shared, you reached out. You hoped someone might meet you halfway. But life taught you people are more comfortable needing you than caring for you. So you adapted. You became reliable, predictable, available. You traded vulnerability for performance, emotion for composure, need for usefulness. Carl Jung once said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And here's one of the darkest truths most never name. The more capable you become, the more invisible you are. Because when you look fine, no one checks. Because when you function without complaint, people assume you're okay. Because when you always say yes, they stop asking how much it's costing you. You've become a role, not a person. The fixer, the rock, the listener, the one who can handle just a little more. And slowly, without realizing it, you disappear. Not from their lives, but from yourself. You stopped asking, what do I need, what do I want? What's mine to carry and what isn't? Because the only question you've lived by is, what else needs me? But here's the paradox. You give more than anyone else in the room, and yet feel emptier than ever. You're surrounded by people, but feel like no one truly sees you. You're praised for being dependable, but inside you're quietly drowning in things no one else can hold. And the most heartbreaking part, you don't even blame them, because you trained them. You taught them through your silence, your strength, your steadiness, that you're always fine. You made it easy for them to forget. You have limits, that you too have a breaking point, but you do. Even the strongest backs eventually ache. Even the brightest smiles fade. Even the calmest voices crack. And lately, you feel it. The weight, the numbness, the quiet ache of being needed but never nurtured. You're not dramatic. You're not weak. You're just human, and humans aren't meant to carry everything silently and still remain whole. You were never meant to be the container for everyone's chaos without anyone ever making space for your peace. So if you've been disappearing lately, not because you want to, but because you have no more to give, that's not selfishness. That's soul preservation. Because even lifeboats need to dock. Even lighthouses need repair. Even you, yes, you deserve to be seen outside of your usefulness. There's a feeling most people don't know how to name. You're not sad. You're not broken. But you're not fully alive either. You move through your days, answer the messages, check the boxes, keep the house running, but deep down you feel like something's missing. Not in the world, in you. It's not burnout, not quite depression. It's something quieter, more subtle. A stillness that doesn't feel peaceful, but empty. A silence that doesn't soothe, but echoes. It's your soul, still here, but braced, still present, but not allowed to exhale. Imagine a small boat caught in a storm. At first it tries to steer, then it tries to navigate, but eventually it stops trying. It grips the sides, and all it thinks about is the next wave, the next blow, the next hour. That's how your inner world feels now. You're not guiding your life, you're surviving it. You wake up not because you're rested, but because you have to. You show up, you smile, you answer. But something in you doesn't arrive. You scroll your phone and feel nothing. You hear laughter and feel distant. You speak, but part of you stays locked inside. And when the day ends, what do you eat? When the noise fades, when no one needs you anymore, you lie in bed. Still, phone in hand, mind foggy, and somewhere in your chest a quiet truth whispers, I don't feel like a person right now. I feel like a system, a function, a machine. You don't cry, not because you're healed, but because you believe. If I start, I might never stop. If I speak, they won't understand. If I feel, it'll all fall apart. So you stay suspended between functioning and feeling, between duty and desire, between showing up and truly arriving. Carl Jung wrote, people will do anything no matter how absurd to avoid facing their own soul. And sometimes, that includes you. Not because you're weak, but because your nervous system is still on edge, still waiting for the next thing to go wrong, still bracing for an invisible blow that never comes, but never leaves. This is soul fatigue, when no place feels safe enough to land, no praise sinks in, no joy sticks, no rest truly restores, because you've been in survival mode for so long. You've forgotten how to receive peace without feeling guilty. You're not just busy, you're numb, suspended, between tasks and truth, between motion and meaning. You're here, but not home. So let me ask you, when was the last time you laughed without scanning the room? First, when was the last time you said, I'm allowed to rest, and actually believed it? When was the last time you were soft without apology? This isn't laziness. It's not weakness. It's not failure. It's your soul asking for permission to breathe, to feel, to re-enter the life you've only been performing. And here's the paradox. You won't feel safe until you start living as if you already are. Until you stop gripping the sides of the boat and realize the storm is over. It ended a long time ago. You just never unclenched. So tonight, don't scroll for another answer. Don't perform another act of being okay. Don't rehearse another to-do list. Just stop, sit. One hand on your chest. Feel the breath. Feel your pulse. Feel the truth rise. I'm not here to survive life. I'm here to live it. Softly, slowly, fully. And if that truth felt like a quiet homecoming, subscribe to this channel. Because your healing deserves a rhythm that doesn't rush, a voice that doesn't demand, a space where your soul can land. The room was spinning, the voices were loud, the emotions ran wild, and everyone turned to you, not because you asked, not because you volunteered, but because you've always been that person, the steady hands in the middle of the storm. You didn't flinch, you didn't freeze, you didn't walk away. You stayed. You held their fear. You absorbed their chaos. You became the calm voice when no one else could think clearly. You didn't need the spotlight. You didn't want credit. You just knew. Someone had to hold the center, and so you did. But quietly, gently, honestly, when you collapse, who holds you? When you break down, who whispers back, "It's okay. You don't have to be strong right now." When you disappear for a while, not for attention, but because your soul is tired, who comes looking? You don't blame anyone. You're not bitter. But something deep inside you knows. You've become a sanctuary for everyone else's pain, while your own pain sits unspoken, unseen, unheld. You're the one people confess to, but you have no one to confess to. You're the safe space. But no one asks if you feel safe. You're the one they cry to, but your tears fall into your own hands in silence. Carl Jung once wrote, "The greatest healer is the one who has suffered deeply, because they learn to heal not just for themselves, but so others wouldn't have to suffer alone." That's you. You don't wear a cape, you don't preach, you don't perform, but you've saved more hearts than you'll ever know just by being there. But even the healer bleeds, even the calmest soul frays. Even you, the one who always says "I'm fine," long for something simple, something radical to be seen. Not analyzed, not fixed, just seen. Not for your wisdom, not for your usefulness, not for your strength, but for your softness, for your ache, for the quiet part of you that has always whispered, "Please, just hold me," without asking me to explain. There's a special kind of grief that lives inside those who are always needed but never nurtured. To be the safe place, but have no place of your own. To be the rock while eroding slowly in the rain. To be the listener but never be asked, "What's been weighing on your heart?" And yet, you keep showing up. You keep offering space. You keep making room for others to feel. Even when your own soul is running on reserves. Even when no one has ever held that same space for you. Even when all you've ever wanted was to rest not just physically, but spiritually. There's no shame in that longing. There's no weakness in wishing someone would say, "You don't have to be strong right now. I've got you. You can fall. I won't look away." So if your eyes feel warm right now, if your chest just softened, if something ancient inside you just whispered, "Yes, that's all I've ever wanted," then know this: you're not alone in that longing. You're not broken for needing it. Even the ones who hold others deserve to be held. There comes a moment, not loud, not dramatic, but undeniable. You look around at your life, the tasks, the expectations, the roles you've played so well for so long, and something inside you asks, "If I stop being everything for everyone, what's left of me?" You're no longer just a parent, no longer just a spouse, no longer just the strong one, the dependable one, the one who always shows up. And under all those layers, beneath all that performance, someone is trembling, someone sacred, someone forgotten, someone real, a soul that's been waiting not for applause, but for permission to exist. You've spent a lifetime holding others, cleaning up the mess, softening the impact, carrying the unspoken, absorbing what wasn't yours. You didn't resent it. You did it with love. But love, without boundaries, becomes something else. Because sacrifice repeated too many times stops being noble. It becomes self-erasure. You vanish behind your usefulness, behind your reliability, behind your smile. You laugh, but your joy is rehearsed. You give, but nothing truly returns. You show up, but no one asks what it's costing you. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who you're needed to be, not who you've been conditioned to be, but who your soul has always been before the world asked you to forget." So let me ask you, When was the last time you did something simply because it lit you up? Not because it helped someone, not because it made you more valuable, but because it whispered, "This is me." You are not just the healer, not just the helper, not just the strong one. You are a life, a breath, a presence. You are not a container for everyone else's chaos. You are a soul, and your soul deserves to take up space. Maybe today is the beginning. Not a rebellion, not a breakdown, but a quiet revolution, a homecoming, not to a version of you that has it all together, but to the you that's real, unguarded, unfolding. So take one breath, place one hand on your chest, and speak this truth even if it trembles. I am enough. I don't need to be everything for everyone. I give myself permission to come home to me. If you've made it to this moment, if something in you feels seen, acknowledged, even softened, then leave a comment below that says, "I've come home to myself." Let this be your declaration, your return, your soft revolution. Share this video with someone who's been holding too much for too long, someone who deserves to know they don't have to disappear to be loved. And if this journey spoke to your heart, subscribe to this channel, not because you need fixing, but because you've spent enough time performing life. And now you're ready to truly live it, softly, sacredly, as you are.